Hey guys, and welcome back to another Design Clips here at W+9. This is Dawn Woolslegel, and today I'm excited to be participating in the dailymarker.com's 30-day color challenge blog hop. So for my project today, I wanted to share how to create this Cath Kidston inspired background. Now, Kathy always stresses that we do not have to complete anything, it's just to color something for a little bit during each day of the month. So for mine, I didn't make it into a card just yet, but I wanted to share with you guys how to create this fun background. So for this technique, I like to use the Simon Says Stamp 140-pound cardstock, and I'll explain more on exactly why later. I'm also going to be using the Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper, and I'm going to be cutting the scalloped circle from our Lacy Layers die from it several times. Now this scalloped circle with the florals inside of it, this is almost like the iconic Cath Kidston pattern in my eyes. Anytime I see this pattern, I know it's either Cath Kidston or it's been inspired by her. So that's what I chose to recreate today. So I'm just going to die cut this several times so that I have all of my masks that I can lay down on my cardstock. Once I've got all my masks down, I can use my Copic Airbrush System to airbrush the entire background. And when I remove the masks, it's going to leave those solid white scalloped circles with a nice, beautiful blue background. So this is the Copic Airbrush System, and I'm using what is this? I'm using a 180 air can, which is 45 minutes of air. And this took me about probably 4 or 5 minutes to do, and that's because I started with the B41 marker. And this marker was running out of ink. So I wasn't getting proper coverage. Like, it came out really splotchy, and then it just kind of wouldn't come out at all. And you can see here, I'm like, what is going on? The air is coming through. So I switched to a B91 marker, and that worked much better. So when you use the Copic Airbrush System, you just press the nozzle, and then you can either go in a circular motion or you can sweep back and forth until you have nice even coverage. And if you're new to using the Copic Airbrush System, even if you've used it before, every time I put in a new marker, I do kind of test it off on scratch paper just to find what the proper angle is. Sometimes the nibs stick out a little further from marker to marker, so I usually test it off on the scratch paper and figure out how far that nib is sticking out and whether I need to hold that spray nozzle either at a 90-degree angle or if I need to tilt it more toward a 45-degree angle. And this is just something, again, that it's going to change from marker to marker. It's not a huge difference, but it is just slight. So here I'm going to keep just moving this back and forth and going over areas until I can even out how it from before, the dry marker. Now I need to just even out those spots. Now, you will notice that it's hard to tell how deep your color is when the masks are still on. So you might want to maybe lift a mask and check, because when I would have sat here and kept doing this all day if I had not at some point remembered, oh yeah, that's right, I'm coloring my masks while I'm coloring this paper. So I have no true white anymore right up against my paper. And when I remove the mask, you see it's much darker than it actually appeared while the masks were still in place. And now that our background is all prepped, it's time to start on our florals. And we're going to use Copic markers for those as well. Now here, you'll notice that the tip of this Copic marker is pretty much the same shape as a round brush that you would use for either watercoloring or acrylic painting. And for that reason, I'm going to be using the shape of that brush to create shapes. I'm not coloring in an image here, I'm drawing with the tip of that Copic marker. So I'm treating it as if it were a brush, and I'm creating expressive strokes. I'm letting the strokes create the shape and the form. Now, if you happen to have taken the Watercolor for Card Makers class, the intermediate techniques on onlinecardclasses.com, then you'll be familiar with what I'm talking about. It's the exact same concept as using your strokes to create your shapes, the natural brush strokes that your instrument makes, whether it be a brush or the Copic nib. I like to keep it to 2, no more than 3 colors for this style of illustration. So with the lightest color, I've laid down the overall shape or silhouette of the rose or the flower that I'm working on. And now I'm coming in with the mid-tone, and I'm separating the base or the body of the flower from the petals. So when you look at a rose, there's a bulb in the middle. It's almost like a bowl shape, and then each of the petals wrap around that. So this is kind of like a cabbage rose. So here I've made that round bulb area in the center stand out. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of deeper color in the middle to show the very center, and you can see those petals radiating around that center bulb. Now for the third color, I'm going to come in with E07, and this is our darkest color, and I'm going to use that the most sparingly. I'm going to put it in the very center, and then at the very base of each petal where they tuck up against that bulb or base of the rose. Now one of the reasons that I really like using this Simon Says Stamp 140 pound cardstock is the color. It's almost a coated cardstock. It's not shiny or slick like specialty cardstock, but it definitely does not have as much tooth as some of the other papers. As much as our W+9 cardstock, this has a slight coating on it. So the ink really sits on top of the paper and gives it that painterly look. The ink does not soak into it. And I really like this paper for this look for that reason. Because I am using the Copics more like a paint brush, the color glides onto the paper and builds up on top of each other more like paint, and it leaves almost the brush strokes or the nib marks into the color, or leaves them behind. They don't absorb into the paper and smooth out, if that makes any sense. But that's one of the many reasons that I really like this paper for this particular illustration style as well. You could do it with other papers and it would work wonderful. You just would have smoother transitions. And if that's the look you're going for, then that's great. Sometimes I do use other paper and I blend it out really well. But again, for this painterly illustration style, I really, really like this Simon Says Stamp 140 pound paper. So now I'm adding in my leaves, and I'm starting with my lightest color, which in this case is the G24, and I'm just laying in all of my my leaves. I'm not being overly careful. Again, the nib itself just makes those leaves effortlessly. All you have to do is touch the tip, press the tip or the body of the nib while you're pulling back, and then lift at the end, and it's going to create a perfect leaf shape. Now I'm coming in with the G28, which is the only other color I'm going to use on the leaves. And I'm just adding a little bit of that here and there just to break up and add some depth and dimension. Again, those leaves cannot be any easier to make. I'm telling you, they're the easiest thing to make. Whether you're painting with watercolor, with paintbrushes or acrylics, or you're using the Copic markers. You literally just touch the tip to the paper, push the body down while you're dragging back, and then lift it up at the end, and you'll have a perfect leaf. You can even come back in and extend the shape of your flower. If you decide, like here, I decided I didn't really like the shape of that upper petal. I wanted to extend it out just a little bit. So I'm taking that lightest color and I'm just coming around the edges and refining that shape just a little bit, and I like that much better. I also want to add a little rosebud here at the top, so I'm just going to create a little flick, it looks like an individual little petal, right? Add some leaves to this and it looks like a rosebud. The power of your imagination is amazing. I'm going to add just a little bit of a deeper color right down the right side here, so it looks like that front petal is wrapped around. And then I'm going to come in with the darkest color, and I'm just going to add a little stray mark. Watch this. Bam. Look, it's not even connected to anything, but hey, you see it as a flower petal. I'm going to put some little accent of the green on the leaves there, and that one is done for now. So I'm going to continue to work my way around each circle and fill in the main flower. I'm going to throw this into fast motion because we don't want this to be like 24 minutes long. Actually, all in all, the entire panel took me about an hour to do, and I thought that this was perfect for the 30-day coloring challenge. Again, you can find all of the details on Kathy Rakuson's blog. She is the genius mastermind behind this challenge, and it is not a challenge as in you're trying to outdo someone or you're trying to outdo yourself. It is all about challenging yourself to take the time to do something for you. It has been proven that coloring is a stress reliever. So though this is a little more labor intensive, you might say, oh, well, you could just use pattern paper and why hand illustrate all of this? Or you could just use stamps and create some beautiful flowers. Well, for me, this is my stress relief because when I'm doing this, I just get lost in it. I have no master plan for each flower. They all kind of organically take shape, and I'm not thinking about what bill is due or what's for dinner or what activity is tonight or where do I need to run the kids. All I'm thinking about is which way is this leaf going to flow? This leaf feels like it's coming off here. Oh, there's a petal. I'll make that petal. It's very therapeutic and very relaxing for me. So I thought that this was a perfect example to use for the 30-day coloring challenge. And maybe I've lost my mind. You guys tell me. Maybe you guys are going, nope, you're just crazy, Dawn. And, hey, so be it. I do hope you guys give this a try, though, because like I said, any shape can become a flower. Any series of marks, you can make it look like a flower. If you add leaves to a blob of color, it's going to read as a flower. And the more you do this, the more you practice, the better and better you will get at it. And the more natural it will come to you, because that's the hard part that I know a lot of people struggle with. It just doesn't come naturally. And for these to come out the best, you really have to get it to start to just flow out of you. I know that sounds cheesy, but they just have to kind of take shape and grow naturally out of your, they take shape as I'm doing them. Like I said, I have no master plan for each flower or each arrangement. They just kind of happen. That's really helpful, huh? Okay, so for the particular pattern that I was inspired by, it just had the roses in the center, but inspired by, so I need to add my own little spin to it. I'm going to add some extra flowers in each of the little clusters, and I'm going to do some yellows. So you can see me here, I'm just kind of practicing off to the side, getting what color I want, trying to decide what color. And in the end, I did decide to go with the yellows. So I'm using Y23, Y38, and YR23. And I'm just using the tiniest little bit of the Y38. I'm also going to add in a different set of greens. So I'm using Y03 and Y17. I'm going to zoom in a little closer here so you can see. I am creating little petals with the marker tip. So I'm literally just press, drag, press, drag, press, drag, and I'm dragging each petal into a center point. I'll add a little detail to the center of each by just adding just a little dot in the middle and flicking it out toward the edges. And then I'll add in my leaves. And then these are also much simpler to match the flowers that they belong to. And once the flowers are all complete, it's time to add in that final touch, which is the little white dots that are surrounding the perimeter of the scalloped circle. So for that, I want to get my spacing as even as I can. So I'm using the Signo Uniball white gel pen. Yes, that is what I'm using. You could use any white gel pen. I happen to like this one for this particular project because it is a thicker line. So I start out by creating a dot in the center of each of the curves, and then I'm going to add a dot where each of the scallops dips. And then I can come in and add 2 dots between each of the dots that I've laid down. And that's going to help me get as close to evenly or perfectly spaced as is humanly possible when just eyeballing it and freehanding it. There's no measuring involved here. So again, just if you're using a shape like this, a circle would be, if I were doing a circle, I would probably do it at the top, bottom, left, right, and then I would go in the center of each of those quadrants, and then I would do dots if I did 2 or 3, whatever it was I decided to do in between each of those quadrants. And that's going to help me to evenly space out these dots as close as possible. So I'm just going to continue to do this all the way around each of the scalloped circles, and then we are almost finished. The final thing I wanted to show you was how you can add highlights using that white gel pen as well. So you'll notice that I left some white breaks when I was coloring, and if you get a little overzealous and you don't quite leave enough white, or you want to add some highlight where maybe you went too dark, you can easily do that using the white gel pen. However, be aware that once you put this white gel pen down, you will be able to see it and tell that you added it afterwards. And B, if you get a little heavy-handed with the white, it's very difficult to correct. It's possible, but it's difficult. So just bear in mind that you'll want to err on the side of caution when it comes to using the white gel pen afterwards. And that concludes my project for the Daily Marker 30-Day Color Challenge blog hop. Yes, that's right, this is part of a blog hop, so be sure to check the description box below for links to our blog where you can find all of the amazing artists who are participating in the blog hop today. I hope that I've inspired you to join in the challenge. Can't wait to see what you guys do. Remember, if you play along, don't forget to use the hashtag #TheDailyMarker30Day. You can click on the card here on the screen to go straight to Kathy Rakuson's blog and find out all about it. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.